Oh, yeah.
Well, what a pleasure this is. Jess and Dana Zeiss, two old, oh, they are old because I'm old. Two old friends, two old friends that we're going to talk about their daughter today, Lexi Zeiss. And I initially had the idea of interviewing Lexi Zeiss, and I thought, why would I do that? I know her parents. It'll be a much better story this way. And she probably want to be interviewed by me anyway. So, welcome to Cowboys Not Eggheads. My friends of a long time. We go back, I don't know,
Long time.
30 years. I don't know 30, but close.
It's probably close. Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
Good grief. But Jess and Dana have got a daughter who is pretty well known in the gymnastic world, and her name is Lexi Zeiss. And I am gonna just read from Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is always so true.
Mhm.
But
That's
how many
it.
people have daughters who have a Wikipedia entry? So you can tell me if it's right or wrong. And I'm just going to start in 2022. Lexi in 2022 competed at the 2022 World Winter Cup, where she finished 15th in the all around. Then in July of 2022, she was selected to compete in the Pan American Championships. And on the first day of competition, she finished second in the all around, behind someone from Brazil, his name I can't pronounce, and third on the balance being behind two gals. During the team final, Lexi competed on vault, balance beam, and floor exercises, helping the United States win silver behind Brazil. At the end of the competition, she was awarded the Sportsman Award for Excellence, Respect, and Friendship. Very important things to me. Good job, guys. By the Pan American Gymnastic Union. In August of 2022, she competed in her first national championships. She finished seventh in the all-around and was named to the national team for the second time. In October of 2022, she decided she was going to become a LSU Tiger. Go Tigers.
That's right.
It's a great school, bud. I've been there on campus. It's a great place.
Yes.
Later that month, she was selected as a traveling alternate for the 2022 World Championship team. And during the team final, Leslie was on the competition floor supporting the team as they won their sixth consecutive gold medal. 2023, that's this year, she competed in the Winter Cup, where she won the all-around competition. That's a big deal. As a result, she was named to the team to compete at the DTB Pokal Team Challenge in Stuttgart. Is that right? How you say that? Stuttgart, Germany? Stuttgart. Yep. And I know that she suffered. It's public information, right? Mm-hmm. That she suffered an injury. So she's. We can talk about that in a little bit. How that's probably. Injuries. Jess and I were talking before. Injuries are actually sometimes blessings in disguise. Mm-hmm. And it's if you're an athletic, elite athlete like she is, it happens. So I kind of wanted to start just by asking, Jess, I know that you were a baseball player at Doane College.
Yep.
But dude, come on, this girl is on the world stage. Where did this come from?
Yeah, it's been an amazing ride. I tell you what, I don't think any of us could have predicted that this is where she would be. But from a young age, she's been a very a focused young lady. She's what Dana calls a box checker. It'd be amazing, Sam. Sometime I'll have to show you. She has a list in the bedside table of all the things she wanted to accomplish as a gymnast back when she was 3 and 4 years old. And it's amazing that those boxes have all been checked. And there's one that hasn't been. And that is...
When did she first I'm sorry to interrupt, but when did she first make that list? How old was she?
She's probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. Is that right, Dana?
She made a 7 or 8 year old.
Yeah, she did. She made it. It was probably, what is that? First, second grade, she developed this list, and it was actually part of a little project they did at school. And so she brought it home and she laminated it and she put it in her drawer, and when we were moving her to Minnesota, was the first we've seen this list, and we're going through her drawers and pull out this list, and it really is just, she's a box checker. That's how she sets her goals. Like, what's next? Okay, what's next? And so,
What's next?
yeah. So
that's how I've got through my entire life. Now, I'm not a gymnast per se.
Yeah.
But what's next?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So she's definitely had some success doing it that way. I think that's how she's driven. She's very goal oriented, but she has to see that in front of her. She has to write it down. She has to practice it. She has to live it. She has to check it. Then she moves on. So
intense drive, discipline, strong, but she's balanced. I did a little homework today and re-listened to a couple podcasts of hers and read some articles. Mm-hmm. The one thing that strikes me about Lexi is she, in gymnastics you have to be balanced, but boy, I think she's pretty balanced as a person, and she seems like she monitors that a little bit. You guys, do you agree with that, or am I wrong? Am I off on that?
No, I mean that we want people to know her as Lexi, who's a gymnast, and not a gymnast named Lexi, because gymnastics is only going to go so long, right? I mean, when they're 24, 25 years old, I mean, they're done, they're retired. But I think that has helped her in her gymnastics world, that, she knows really what's important in life. I mean, being kind, being respectful. She's an only child. So part of that is by, she's been around us the whole time, and we've had adult conversations around the dinner table since she's been a young age. So I think that has helped her. But she's a very, again, she's just a very kind kid, and we're very proud of what she's done. And I think that's been part of the reason why she's been successful.
She, the other thing that I really noticed was, my guess, if I shook Lexi's hand, she would give me a pretty firm handshake. Yeah. And she also, something very interesting that I noticed is when she was being interviewed on NBC just recently in Louisville, she looked straight at the camera. It takes a lot of guts to look straight at a camera. I thought it just said it was just said everything right there.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about life skills, right? Again, one day gymnastics will be over, but you've got to have the skills to continue on in this life as Lexi the person, not Lexi the gymnast. And those things are to look people in the eyes when you speak to them, and
good for you.
You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen first, and then respond, and be kind. You be respectful. We just, that's always been our expectation, and I hope that it makes me proud that you see that come through in her gymnastics, because being humble is incredibly important to us. And I always tell her there's little girls out there that want to be you. So in your good times and in your times when we call them learning moments, we don't call them failures, but the meets that don't go as planned and become learning moments, those are just as important for those little girls to be watching how she responds. So we talk a lot about that stuff. And I know sometimes when she walks out the door and we give one last reminder, she's like, Mom, I know. But I hope that the sport, between the sport and us, I hope we've positioned her to be a good human. So.
Well, you have. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, she won Sportsman Award, and I love that you're teaching those skills. As a young kid, one of the first things I learned, and I wasn't old at all. I was probably 5 or 6 years old. But when we would go to a place called Alan Millie's in Valentine, Nebraska, there's just a diner there. But Mom and Dad didn't order the food. Mm-hmm. Sam ordered the food, and Sam was to look directly in the eyes of the waiter or waitress and clearly say, put Jess back on here, and to clearly say what the order was. So good for you. I mean, those are great life skills, and the proof is in the pudding. So good job.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you, Dana. I had a
Yes.
question specifically for you,
Okay.
and you kind of mentioned this, but maybe you can go a little deeper.
Okay.
I think you just said this, but why are you proud of Lexi aside? Forget the athletic accomplishments, but how are you proud of Lexi outside of athletics?
Right. So the other thing, one of our other big messages at home is you need your brain a lot longer than you need gymnastics. So we told her early on when she started down and she told us she wanted to go down this elite path. We knew that we knew what that meant. Most elites in this country don't go to traditional school. And so Jess and I really dug our heels in, and it took a lot of balancing and support from our jobs to be able to, hey, run out in the middle of the day, pick her up, get her to the gym. But we kept her in traditional school through her freshman year in high school, which is a miracle.
When did the practice hours really pick up? Probably about freshman in high school is what I'm picturing, or eighth grade?
Sixth grade is when we started going. She started going in that like 26 to 28 hours a week. So she'd go practice in the morning, come back to school, go after school. So it was a lot of maneuvering around for all of us. But our family philosophy is we can do anything for a little while. And that's kind of how Jess and I check our boxes to kind of help her achieve her goals. But basically, what I'm most proud of is she's a very good student. She has a 4.0, and that's very important for her. We almost got a B plus last semester, and life was close to ending. Like it was going to be rough business.
For who? For her or for you?
Because
she's a perfectionist.
Yes.
She's a perfectionist.
Yes. So,
will you tell her Sam Fisher's a C plus kind of fella, and I'm doing just fine?
And you're doing just fine. That's right.
I'm just a little bit above average, not much.
Yes. So, but no, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of, that she'll stop when she's walking into the gym and some little girl has the same Leo on as her and wants to get a picture. When we were at the U.S. championships, her and one other girl signed every single autograph in the arena, like they were asking us to leave. And when I asked her why she did that, she said, because I remember when I was that little girl. And so to me, it's so much bigger than her gymnastics. Like I kind of love watching her gymnastics. It's incredibly stressful, but I like watching her do all those other things that make me just so proud of the human she is. So.
Now we're going to skip ahead here a little bit from what nervous. So Jess Zeiss, so congratulations, you got to see your daughter with your own two eyes. What, just recently, huh?
Yeah. Well, it was funny because when we were in Brazil in July, I was kind of one of those where I would be all over the arena and I would watch certain events. And one event I would not watch was beam because it stresses me out. Well, when we went to Rio, Lexi said, you have to watch. Dana said, you have to watch. We're traveling all that way. And so we're in the arena. There's about 10 or 12 Americans and the rest are Brazilians. And it was like a soccer match. I mean, they were vocal and loud and everything. And I got stuck in a crowd right on the end of the beam. So she was coming at me. And I'm like, I couldn't get out of it. So I had to watch at the worst position you could.
Like, did you think, oh my God, she's looking at me and she's going to like fall? Or what did you think?
I thought she did fall because she was so crooked on the beam. I went like this. The next thing I know, I look up and she's saluting. And I'm like, oh, wow, she stayed on. And
well, maybe you should watch next time, bro.
So I do now. I watch now, Sam.
But how is it? I mean, it must be. I mean, I saw her on the beam and I'm like, man, it's because well, I'm not on the balance beam, but I sort of know gymnastics through this little silly thing I've done for the last 8 years called CrossFit. Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of stuff like that. And so I've been to a lot of competitions as far as with CrossFit. And a lot of it is gymnastics related. But yeah, I mean, I get a little butterflies. I don't even know Lexi. What is it like? I mean, is your mouth dry? I mean, are you like shaking? Is your heart like elevated? Now, Dana, my guess she's cool as a cucumber. I go up and touch her, and she'd probably be like ice. You, Zeiss, I think you'd be a hot tamale, baby.
I think we're both hot tamales. It's just
Yeah.
Are you?
we show it different ways. You know,
I
Sam,
have a better poker face.
yeah,
Exactly.
the thing about it is, you know, the sport is when you think of all the other sports, baseball, right? You get 3 strikes, or you get 4 at bats. Football, you get another play. Golf, you get another swing. But in this, you have one chance, and you train for 30 hours a week for about 5 minutes of competition. And
Right.
if you fall off an apparatus, these girls, there's 35 of these senior elite gymnasts across the country, and they're all really, really good. And you have to stay on the apparatus. And one of the things that she's been really good at, and she's from her mindset, is that she's been pretty consistent. And so she just has a pretty good mindset that has allowed her to do that. But that's the hard part, is that there's no second chances.
But I would say,
Yeah.
to speak to that a little, Sam, she's not always had that mindset, though. Like,
Right.
people think they train just gymnastics. She
Oh no.
went through a period where she wasn't consistent, and she was asking for more. And we, actually set her up with a mindset coach, a sports psychologist.
Psychologist.
He's been amazing with her, and just that learning that mindset of how to calm
Between the
yourself.
ears,
It
baby.
is. And I would say, when you look at her gymnastics now, I would say that's 75% of it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you've
yeah, she can do
trained.
all this stuff.
Yes,
She can do it.
yes.
She can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what separates any athlete at any level. I don't care if it's LeBron James
Right.
or, Rich Froning in CrossFit, or
Yep.
it's all about between the ears, the mental edge. And just breathing, and I'm interested in, like, I'd love to talk to her about her breathing, because she's, you don't have to go right away. You have, what was it, 30 seconds on the floor exercise stuff.
Yep.
And so if I were, I'd take, well, you take advantage of what you need to get to where you think you can start.
Yep.
And there's no rush to start the damn thing.
Right.
So I would love to talk to her about her breathing patterns. I mean, there's this thing called seal breathing that I try and do that doesn't work for me, but Navy SEALs use it. It's a technique. It slows your heart rate down. I would just be fascinated to know all those techniques. I mean, her breathing and your visual. I'm sure she visualizes a ton. I mean, and she talks to herself, right? As part of the process.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
One of the
But to see her grow during that, like, he's worked with her on that since she was young. Like, she's the youngest person he's ever worked with, right? And she wouldn't talk to herself because she found that to be embarrassing, right? She's like, that's kind of weird. I'm talking to myself, and people are looking at me like, what is she doing? Or
you don't get deductions for that.
Yeah, right. And or even just being able to touch your diaphragm to really get in control of your breathing. And as she grew, like just mentally grew, and even just matured in age and bought into those strategies, it's been fun to see her implement them, know when to use them, and to see her gymnastics improve because of the mindset piece of it.
Improve dramatically, really.
Yes,
I mean,
correct.
Within the last year or two, right? I mean, just
correct.
And Sammy, if you go back to the Winter Cup that you were talking about just a few months ago, there's a nice clip when they're showing her on TV that she has a GE written on her wrist. And GE stands for good enough. And you talked about it right when we started, that she was trying to be a perfectionist. And so that mindset and that strategy has helped her get to a point to where her gymnastics takes over, because her mind is so calm, and so, the good enough is what she's using instead of trying to be a perfectionist. So
it's awesome.
Worked for her.
That's awesome. Good for her. Good for her. I wonder if she follows David Goggins. He's my mindset guy, but he's a little. You guys, have you ever heard of David Goggins?
I have.
He's incredible, but
awesome.
But she's
and the writing on the hand stuff is great. I mean, my CrossFit coach does that. She'll write words like impact just on her hand.
Yep.
I mean,
whatever.
I told her, and she likes Daisy. She raises like daisies. Be nice to people. And I'm like, listen, if you ever get me to freaking write a daisy on my hand.
I'd like to see that.
Anyway. She has struggled with perfectionism since she was little. Like, we knew that it was going to at some point probably be crippling to her, which is where we got. I can still remember in second grade, they had spelling tests, and she came out of school. It was March, and she was hysterically crying when she got in the car. And I was like, oh gosh, girl drama already. And so she gets in, and I was like, what is going on? And she missed her first spelling word of the year. And she was furious because she had not missed a spelling word all year. And I was like, oh, we have a long road ahead of us here. So just she had those traits very early, which I think those things have helped her become elite. But I think those things,
she's channeled them properly.
Yeah.
She's channeled them properly, and she's recognized and she's matured because she's recognized that she's not perfect.
Yep.
But she's channeled that in such a way where she's gotten, so, is it good or is it bad? Well, it's a big part of who she is.
Yep.
And good for her. But again, it's okay to get a C once in a while. It's all right.
All right. We'll be calling
we're going to make it.
We'll be calling you if that ever happens.
Oh yeah. You want to put Sam, the psychologist here. Yeah.
Sam, that's you and me. We're C's. I can probably guarantee she's not going to get one of those, but
So where does she get this perfectionism from?
I think we all in our house tend to be a little type A. I think we're all wired that way a little bit, but I think honestly, how many times do you hear people say that they're just wired differently? And we've noticed that about her since she was little. People would say, oh, she's blessed with athletic ability. She's blessed with this. She's blessed with that. Actually, it was just that she had just a different killer instinct to her. When she played soccer when she was little, she wanted the ball. When every sport, yes. So I think, I think we all are perfectionists in our house, but I think she just has a way different drive. When we recognize that quite early.
Yeah.
So
part of that, just to add on to that, part of that is, I think Dana and I have always strived to be as good as we can in anything we do, right? Whether it's playing golf on a Sunday afternoon or going to work and being the best nurse practitioner you can be or the best investment banker you can be. And I think it's rubbed off a little bit on her. That, again, it's about doing things 100% to your ability. I mean, if you're going to do something, you're going to finish it. It's just the way it is.
That's one of my principles. I was recently asked to write down my principles. And that's it. I mean, when's the last time you two wrote down your principles? I mean, and I bet you if I asked Lexi right now what her 4 principles are, she'd be able to rattle them off right now. Mm-hmm. She knows.
Yeah.
And, you're talking about are things like integrity. You're talking about things like authenticity. You're talking about things like finishing the job. Don't take shortcuts. Those are 3 of mine, by the way. Yeah, she sounds like a pretty mature young lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she was little, we would have her fold clothes, right? And so sometimes she wouldn't want to do that, and she would fold a washcloth, and it would be not very good, right? And so I would give it back to her, and I would say, if you were on the beam, would you want this score? Because right now, as I look at it, it's an 8-8, right? And tell me what you want on the beam. And she would refold that to a T. So, right, you can teach your kids early on doing the right thing and striving to, and she still remembers that. She still remembers having to do 9-5 beam folds, but right, that's learning to do it the right thing early. Yeah. Right. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we talk with her also, Sam. One of the things that I was always taught is I told Lexi, I said, character means doing the right thing when nobody's watching. So when you walk,
dude, that's my number one principle. That's my number one principle. Now, you both know me, and we both know that I strive for principles. I'm not set in stone necessarily, but I strive to do that. But it's principle.
The little things. It's like you're walking in an arena or something, and there's a wrapper on the floor. Do you pick it up or do you walk by it? And so those are the type of things that we're trying to instill on her, on just doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And so
it's integrity. That's the definition of integrity right there.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. I knew this was going to be a great podcast. Um, what else here? Now so one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you guys is because I know you both, and I know for a fact that you, Jess and Dana Zeiss, did not push her in any one direction.
Mhm.
You weren't hovering. The last person to yell at a referee at a game would be you two, right? That's not.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all about the same age, and we kind of look at the world the same a little bit. And so she sat you down when she. I don't know if this is for moving to Minneapolis or was it the change, but she said you didn't sit her down and said, "Here's what you're going to do." It's never been that way, correct? It's
Yeah.
always she's driven the boat or driven the ship, and you all have just supported her. Talk about that.
So I'll start, and then I'll let Jess take over when he got sat down. So her and I went to the Olympic trials, and we met another family there that's actually a family at the gym that we moved to. And we went to the Olympic trials with them, and her and I were driving home, and she just said, I love my gym, I love my coaches, but if I want to be here, I think it's time for me to change. And so I said, okay. And I tend to be a little less reactive. Jess, is that a safe comment?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and
hey, Dad, I'm moving to Minneapolis. See ya.
yeah. And so I said, okay, team, tell me how that looks. And I said, before we pitch this to your dad, you need to do some work here. And so what I tasked her with is I needed 5 reasons to stay. I wasn't, why do more, right? She was only 15 years old. I need 5 reasons why you want to leave, and then I need you to put down 5 gyms in order that you would potentially want to visit, and why you think that gym would help you achieve your next goal. So we got home, and she was done with it that night. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't going away. And so
No.
I just said, okay. So I think now, this is going to be a big change for our family. But I think now we need to kind of bring Dad into the mix and see what he thinks. And so, Jess, maybe you take it from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a couple of things in a serious note, part of the thing I was thinking about is, whether my work now, if there's a blessing in disguise with COVID, it proved that you can work from home, at least in my business. From Dana's standpoint, being a nurse practitioner, she's got to be on site more. So I'm going to have to be spending a lot more time in Minneapolis. And, working for the company I've been working for 26 years, it wasn't even a question. They said, absolutely, you go do it. We are supportive. I mean, right? I mean, First National Bank is just, that's who they are. So that was the first thing. I got past that. But, I just didn't know if it was the right move because I didn't know what was going to happen, right? I mean, just from a family dynamic, you have a house up there, you have a house here. School-wise, she was loving school. West Side was great. She loved going to West Side. So all those things were going through my mind. But, honestly, Sam, I'm sitting behind my desk right now. So she sat right here. I sat on the other side, and she went through these things, and she laid out what she wanted to do, what she was trying to accomplish. And, I dug my heels in. I honestly did not want to go. And then a couple of days of back and forth, I knew that this is something that she wanted to try and that we had the ability to do it. And at the end of the day, we drove up there on a Saturday or a Sunday. She started gym the next day, and the rest is history. I mean, she knew that this was the place.
And the results have been phenomenal.
And I think it's important to understand that it wasn't anything that was going wrong in the gym here. We loved OGA. She loved her coaches. She loved her teammates. But it's just like anything sometimes where you hit the end of the runway. And she needed to take that next step. Most importantly, she needed teammates. She was the only elite in Nebraska. She's the
Yeah.
only senior elite. So
it makes a difference training, guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what
when you're training with somebody, you're so far above everybody else. You need to get in with your peers
Mm-hmm.
and get your butt kicked once in a
Yep.
while.
exactly.
It's a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
I understand
And
it.
it took us,
And
I don't know, Dana always says it took us a while to get into a cadence, but 6-8 months later, you know, we have a pretty good cadence going now that where it feels like normal, you know.
Yeah.
So our life is normal to
Well,
us now.
a home. I mean, a house is just a house. A home is where you're at.
Correct.
So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you just
Correct.
you know, you made it work.
Yeah.
Yep.
You made it work.
Yeah.
Great story.
I did tell Jess, and Lexi, I said, Dad and I'll talk about it. And it was kind of the last night before we were going to decide. And he said, what do you think? And I said, I'm ready to go. And I said, what do you think? And he said, I don't know. And I said, all right, here's the deal. You go to bed tonight and you wake up tomorrow with a decision. And if you don't want to go, then you get to share that with her in the morning. And he's like, I'm not talking to her in the morning. She's already had me in the den behind the desk once. So we're going. So we never looked back. And our thing was, this is not a death sentence. If we get there and we don't like it and it doesn't work.
Everything in life is
Yes.
temporary, man.
Yep.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
So once we got
It's
Jess
fine.
on board, we were gone.
Yeah. Man, some things just don't change. It's hilarious. Listen to these stories. So I mean, what makes Lexi tick? Why is she motivated? What is her motivation? I bet you guys recently watched the 30 for 30 thing on Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, the stuff that guy's such elite level, and the stuff that he used for motivational purposes. What are some of the what motivates Lexi? What makes her tick?
Take it, Jess, or me?
Well, I mean, so again, I think it started way back when I brought it up earlier about her little sheet where she had boxes, right? She's always wanted to compete, always wanted to go to a national team camp, check, national team, all these events, win, do this, get a college scholarship. And so I think it's the next thing in line that she's trying to accomplish. And one of the things, Sam, is and Dana can attest to this, if you tell her she can't do something or she doesn't have the ability to do something, she's going to do everything in her power to prove you wrong. So she's not a what if person. We're not a what if family. So she's just like, well, what if I tried this? What if I did this? What if I did this? Because she hates looking back and say, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have done that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's, you dangle a carrot in front of her. She's going for it. And for some reason, she just is, like Dana said, it's one of those things, she just wired a little differently than most people. And honestly, she's embraced everything about the sport of gymnastics. And I think people lose perspective that it's more than going out and flipping on a beam and doing the bars. A lot of it is about eating properly, doing the physical therapy, getting enough sleep. Recovery, the mindset, working with a sports psychologist. I mean, it's, you know, years ago that was frowned upon. That was like, well, you're struggling, you can't handle it, and that's why you got to use somebody. It's just the opposite for her. He's done such a good job at bringing her down from perfectionism to being good enough that I think she's embraced all the aspects that go on with the sport that I think some haven't. And I think that's what's helping her tick, is she's seeing all this stuff work. So yeah. I don't know, Dana, do you have
success, winning? She's a winner.
Yeah. I think too, she's a pretty gritty kid. You know, just to qualify elite was really difficult for her early on in the process, and just to never give up. She's a grinder, and she kind of has a motto where she's not an oh no, she's a let's go. And she'll say, she looks over her shoulder, and if somebody just put up a big score, she's like, I don't say oh no. She goes, I turn around and I'm like, all right, let's go. So she has some little phrases in her head that shift her focus and get her into the right mindset and make her tick and go.
So she's dealing with the injury right now, which is probably one of her. Is this one of her?
It's her first.
I'm sure she's had tons of injuries, but it's her first. It's a setback.
Yep.
what is she? How was she dealing with the injury? Was there a little bit of grief period, or did she just take it on? Okay, what do we got to do? What's next? I mean,
Yeah.
it's nutrition.
Hmm.
To me, injury is, and I'm only taking this on an amateur CrossFit person who doesn't compete. Well, I compete every day against me, but I've had injuries. I've had this and I've had that, and I mean, I'm dialed in on nutrition. I have a nutrition coach. I have, all this stuff. So I know about nutrition and I know about recovery and all these things. And injury, I had an injury a couple of years ago, and it really forced me to refocus on some things, because injury doesn't hamper you necessarily. It might limit she has an ankle injury, so she can't, there's certain things she can't do, but she can still swing on a bar, right? She can still do uneven bars or whatever, I assume. Well, she has to land, doesn't she? But I
Well,
mean, there's
yeah.
technique things that she can probably be
Hmm.
working on,
Right.
and that's what I found is all of a sudden I got better at technique, and
Hmm.
everything slows down, and you're dialed in on nutrition, you're dialed in on
Hmm.
recovery, you're all these things.
Well,
So is she taking this as a what's next challenge, or how's she doing? How's she doing?
So when it happened in Germany, we ended up at the hospital, and they brought her in a boot and something else, and she said, "I don't really need any of your equipment. I'm going to take my ankle, and I'm competing tomorrow." And Jess was standing there, and she goes, "Let's go, Dad." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And so I told the USA medical staff was amazing, and I was like, "Okay, like we know she can't compete. We're all looking at her ankle, but let's let her get there herself, right? And she will. But I think we all know that when we can't do something, if mentally we can get there ourselves, it's a whole lot easier on our hearts, right?" It took her a while, but she got there, and when she came home, she was ready to roll. What do I need to do to get better? You're so right. The one thing he told her though is, while you're in this cast, you have to do what you're told. And she was supposed to be in the cast 2 weeks, and she said, "Oh, good. So when I come out of the cast in 2 weeks, then I can start swinging bars." And he said, "Well, you just earned yourself a third week. No, you can't start swinging bars." So
Oh,
he's been really good about being very specific about her timeline, because I think gymnasts are wired a little differently. And in the past, gymnasts were expected to compete injured, right? That's the old regime from USA Gymnastics. It's not that way anymore. But we have focused in on, you can still do upper body, you can do Pilates,
it's stronger.
you can still
You get
do,
more mobile. You can
yes,
maintain flexibility, get
yep,
gain increase flexibility, and
yep,
you get stronger. She's lifting weights,
yep.
mhm.
and boy, is she strong! She whip you too. She whipped me. These gymnast kids, for every square inch of her,
Mm,
she's strong,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she's, I
Anyway,
think,
sorry.
no, I think what she's done, and I think it kind of bummed her out. Not kind of, it did, but I think she's mindset, right? She's used her mindset training to think, okay, what do I need to do so that when this is done, I can get back to where I am. So that's where we are right now. I'm not going to lie, she's
Good for
driving
her.
Jess and I a little bit crazy at the moment, because this girl's not used to being home. And
Right.
she thinks she can do more than she can, but she's done a good job.
Yeah.
So,
She
Good.
has.
and her
Good. And it's
body
so she.
needed rest.
She sorry, no, but she like going? Is she back in classes West Side, or is she just
No,
at
she
home
goes,
correspondence still?
yeah, she goes to the University of Nebraska. They have a virtual high school. I bet most people don't
Okay.
even know that. So that's
Yeah.
actually who she does her program through. So yep, she can get ahead on homework and do those things. So
But having friends around, does that keep Lexi balanced a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, one of
yeah.
the, and Dana can attest to this, and I think it's important to note that you can compete and train and do all this at a very high level, but still maintain a normal, somewhat of a normal life. One of the things that we've been very adamant and sometimes push back a little bit from her coaches in Minnesota is she went to homecoming at Westside last year. She came back for a couple of
Good.
birthdays, and so the one thing that we've been cognizant about is that you know we didn't ever want her to get to a point to where it's like, boy, I missed out on this, I missed out on that. One day here, one day there, missing training for a birthday party or homecoming or prom or something like that is very important. She went to the West Side State Football Championship 2 years ago, and so things like that have allowed her to kind of maintain a normal teenager life, but still be able to train and do what she's done. And we've been very adamant on that. And she's actually even thanked us a couple of times for that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
meant that much to her. And we've been adamant. And so it's worked out really good.
I just don't ever
Awesome.
want her to look back and, say, wait, what happened? Where did my childhood and teen
Yeah.
years go? And everyone will
Yeah.
say, oh, she would never do that. Look at the success she's had. But again, gymnastics is going to end and those successes are gone. But what about all those
Right.
other experiences?
Which is why you said earlier, Sam, about she's driving the bus. We've never driven the bus. Dana played college basketball. I played college baseball. Not at a huge high level, but you still played at a college level. We had our time. It's her time now. It's her sport. It's her, whatever she wants to do. We're here to support her to do that. It's her journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so actually one of my questions is, and you've essentially answered it, is, athletes are sometimes lost when the days of competition are over. Are you concerned about that transition? Obviously you're preparing, you have since day one prepared her for that transition. And realistically her shelf life is what, another 4, she's 17. So she's got about another 8 years, maybe.
Yeah. So
it's hard to say that, isn't it?
It's interesting though. Like she is in control. She wants to be in control of when gymnastics ends. So because she doesn't have enough going on, she's already studying to become a judge for gymnastics. Because in her brain, when gymnastics is over, that's how I can still stay involved, right?
Good for her.
So
that makes sense.
I think she's looking ahead to really when she bows out, how's that going to look? I don't have to totally go away. I can be involved in a different way.
Plus,
to
add to that,
if I ask her
go ahead, Sam.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's your answer.
Well, I was just going to say, even beyond gymnastics, she wants to be a dermatologist. So that there's going to be some schooling that's going to take a while and some hard schooling. So another challenge.
Well, she's got plenty of work out there for her. I tell you what, I've had more stuff taken off me.
But that's
she's
good. She's got goals beyond gymnastics, and she's given those to us before too. So
good for her.
And we try not
I want to meet her.
I want to
meet her now.
Yes, you need to.
Holy moly!
I don't know.
Yeah, I want your autograph.
I don't know if I want her to meet you.
Yeah, well, I'll bring Heather. It always equals things out. That's absolute truth. Jess, we talked a little bit about you not wanting to watch her. Do you have any superstitions that you go through prior to her competitions?
Sure. There's certain things that I wear during when she was the second and all around in Brazil. So every meet that she's been at, I wear the exact same stuff, and it's worked.
I knew it. I knew you were superstitious.
I'm a baseball guy. We're super. I mean, come on.
Exactly. That's why it is. Absolutely.
It was interesting at Winter Cup. I watched her first event. What was her first event, Dana? Where'd she start? Oh, Beam. So I watched it over with Dana. And then my brother-in-law and Dana's family was on the other side of the arena. So I walked over there to watch Floor, and she did both really well. Then I went over and watched with Dana to watch vault, and then I went back over to watch bars, so I'm like, I got to keep going back and forth because it's working. So yes, I am very superstitious. Dana, on the other hand, doesn't believe in that stuff.
Nope.
You're either prepared or you're not. You either do what you know how to do or you don't. You get in your right mindset or you're not. I'm
okay. The ultimate question of whose daughter is this? Does Lexi have any quirky habits or superstitions?
I would say not superstitions, except she's very like if you watch her self-talk, it's always the same. So I would say more consistent. She's very consistent about how she approaches
and has routines.
Yeah. But I would say I don't want her to be superstitious.
She's not.
Jess.
I agree with you, Dana. She's just she has a way she goes about her business.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
pretty consistent with how she does it, how her approach is to beam versus it is to floor versus, and she has a different approach for each one of those events, and it's consistent with how she approaches it.
Yeah. You two have given her freedom to make huge lifetime choices. What advice would you give to other parents who are in a similar situation of raising a superstar athlete?
So what I would say is, first of all, we are such a believer in letting your kids try all different kinds of things. Lexi played volleyball. She played basketball. She did track. She did swimming. She did golf. I mean, literally, we had her soccer. We had her in everything because we wanted her to see what did she love? Where did her interests lie? Um, but I think most importantly, let it be their dream. You can't want it more than your kids. We see people along the way that do, and there was a girl that has been in the elite system for a long time, and we just saw the other day she totally quit the sport. And if you put that kind of pressure on them, they already put enough pressure on themselves, and the love for it probably won't be there long term. But our family beliefs are we can do anything for a little while. We always do it together. We will leave no stone unturned. Um, we don't decide what that stone is. Jess and I don't. She gets to decide. What is it that she needs next to help her be successful. And if it's something that the two of us can put in position for her, we absolutely will help her. But this is her dream. It is absolutely her dream. So I'm not going to say it's not fun. It's been a fun. I mean, we've been to Rio. We've been to England.
Right.
We just got home
Oh,
from
Rio!
Germany.
Heather and I were in Rio for 10 days once. It was great. Yeah.
So I mean,
in Europe, it's fun. Now, do you enjoy it when you're over there? Do you like go and do other stuff?
Yeah.
You too. I mean, she's stuck somewhere, but you go do stuff, right?
Yep.
Good for you.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
I would say I would add a little bit to what Dana was saying too, Sammy, is that this has to be their journey. I think so many times you hear, hey, your daughter could be the next Gabby Douglas, could be the next Simone Biles, whatever. And I'm like, I just want my daughter to be the next Lexi Zeiss, right? I mean, if once you start putting that pressure on these kids, it becomes not enjoyable. And her sports psychologist has always ended his conversations, at least this is what Lexi's told us, is that, Lexi, are you having fun? Are you enjoying it? And she goes, I'm having a blast. And he goes, once you lose your enjoyment, then it becomes more work and more of a job.
Then it's work.
And so
it's work. I mean, it might be tiresome for her right now, but it's not work.
And I also would tell parents that, you know what, if your daughter is a level 8 or a level 9, have them be the best level 8 or level 9 they can be. They don't have to be an elite gymnast to be a good gymnast or to be successful or whatever. Don't push them beyond their limits and to get them to a point to where they're not enjoying the sport. And that's what our whole thing is as long as she's enjoying it, we will continue to support it and give her the means to be successful. But that's, to me, is the enjoyment side.
Awesome. I have one more little bizarre question I'm going to ask you since I don't have kids, but I have opinions. So I'm the world's biggest hypocrite in the world. I can talk about people's kids and how they handle them, but I don't have kids, so I don't know anything. First to admit that. So she's been to a lot. I mean, she was a lot of games growing up and so forth and so on. And I see a lot of parents that their lives are absolutely dictated by their sports schedules, and that's fine. I mean, whatever. But have you ever missed a soccer game or a basketball game or a game that she participated in that life happened, you couldn't go?
I will take that one, and I will say one time I missed her first.
How did that make you feel, Jess Zeiss? Were you guilty? Did you feel like you were a rotten parent, or did you feel like I can't make it today?
Well, I was in the hospital, so there.
Oh well, I was near death.
I was in the first day of U.S. Championships last year. I got sick in Tampa, and I missed.
That's right. I saw that.
It crushed me. And
yeah. I mean, listen. I'm just talking about a run-of-the-mill soccer. I'm not talking about the United States Championship.
I would say,
yeah, it would have crushed you.
That was
it.
Never have.
Boy, she's lucky. But if you, I mean, I'm gonna ask Dana Liz because she's tougher than you. Dana, if you ever missed a game of hers, would you feel guilty about it? Growing up?
No, I wouldn't feel guilty because I will have known two things. Number one, I would have tried everything I could not to miss. So I would have exhausted everything to do that. But also Lexi knows we're her biggest supporters. Whether I'm standing on the sideline or not.
Yes.
She knows, right? She knows we're her biggest fans, we're her biggest supporters, we've got her back. Whether we're standing on the sideline or sitting in the stands or whatever, that doesn't define whether I support her that day. That was learned in our home long ago. No matter what you do, we've got you. So
love it. Well, I had 38. Poor Sam. We'll talk about Sam. That's the secret of this podcast. It's my therapy. But did you know that I had 38 or 40 football games in high school? And you know how many games my parents went to?
How many?
2.
Okay.
And look at me. I'm all right.
You are all right.
Look at me, baby.
Yes.
I made it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's right.
It's a different time though. It's just a different time. And maybe I should. My parents are both deceased, so they can't talk for themselves right now or defend themselves. But they did live 330 miles away.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it. So.
But I think if you have really established good relationships with your children.
I knew where I sat with my parents.
Right.
Yeah, I got it. I mean, somebody had to run the ranch. Yep. I mean, I wasn't. Somebody they had stuff to do. Yep. So I was fine. Yep. I was fine.
You knew you were loved.
Yeah, of course,
Yep.
of course. Yep. Gosh, guys, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything that I missed or that you'd like to cover? Or just really appreciated our time together.
No, I just think the thing for Jess and I and Lexi is just it's so awesome how, though her presence isn't here in Omaha all the time, the support we have from people here like yourself, it really means so much to our family. We feel so blessed. So blessed.
I know Jess is in on the social media thing, and God bless him. I wish I wasn't either. I'm on it all except for TikTok. For God's sake, if she's on TikTok, get her off TikTok. But anyway, she's on TikTok, isn't she? Dang it. But keep posting stuff because I read that stuff, and it's social media. That's how I've kept up with you for the last 10 or 13 years. I think I saw Jess, 3-4 years ago
somewhere. I don't remember where it was.
Event, and I saw you because I got you roped into something. We went to DC together.
Yeah, right.
Dana, about 13 years ago. Yeah. So, anyway.
No, we do appreciate it. It's fun to catch up with people and just have people cheering for us, and that means a lot.
Well, you've got I've got listeners in all 50 states and 36 countries, so maybe we have a few more fans for Lexi.
Awesome.
All right, then they should follow her on Instagram. They can all get on.
Yes, they should. Lexi Zeiss. It's got the blue check. LEXIZEISS.
Right. She's verified, so you got to get the right one.
You can try a messenger, but she didn't message me back.
Well,
boo-hoo.
She will now after we tell her who it was.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah, no. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, I gotta come up with some strange idea. I'm like, this is a strange idea.
That's funny.
Anyway,
well, now
she wouldn't have given me anything anyway.
Now that we reconnected, we need to get together for dinner.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, it's time. It's
yes,
overdue.
I got all kinds of time.
I
got all kind of time.
Okay.
You just let us know.
Okay.
So, all right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Sammy, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You betcha. All right.